Merseyside Network News. Hi, welcome to Merseyside Network News. I'm David Knox, your host and anchor, as always. Tonight we've got a special for you. Our on-the-grounds investigative reporter Gavin Knox has been on the scene with Katie Hopkins, admiring her political stand-up comedy routine. Should be good, should be good.
Ladies and gentlemen, I want to introduce you all to the wonderful Katie Hopkins, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you so much, Paul. Thank you, everybody. I don't know if I'm better off with this or without this.
No, with that.
You prefer it with. The elderly gentleman in the room, hard of hearing, prefer it with. I will say thank you so much for being so kind. You know, so often I go around the place and I guess I'm used to being hated, certainly the most hated woman in Britain or whatever.
Could you be hated?
It's easy, I'm a monster.
It's like I know you all my life.
And when I meet people, one of the things they say if they speak to me is, but you're really small. And what happens is, if you're a monster, you're supposed to be really big. Like, I'm supposed to be like 9 foot and have hair coming out of everywhere. I mean, I've got hair coming out of a lot of places we don't need to talk about. But I am not a massive monster. And then people will say, but your voice is big. Well, yes, but you're not big enough, because they think you're supposed to be this big evil person. But it is really nice of you to all be here. I really respect you all for giving up your time to be here. Where's the lovely lady and her son who've driven how many miles? Where are you? There you are. How many miles did you drive? 100.
A couple of hours.
A couple of hours, nearly 100 miles with her son. And I think to see a young person, big round of applause for the young person in the room. It's really special. It really makes me, you know, that we can see young people who are brave enough to put their heads above the parapet and come to something like this. Young people, Tyler, at the back of the room there. Tyler, who also is brave enough to be here, and I really commend you. I applaud your bravery, and I think it's magnificent at a time when you're spoon-fed what you're supposed to think, and you clearly have decided to think for yourselves. So good on you, boys. I really appreciate it. I went to join the army when I left university. So I was sponsored through university by the Intelligence Corps, and then I went to join the army. I always wanted to be a soldier. It's all I ever wanted to be. I went through the Royal Military Academy, Sandhurst, and I started as one of... Am I boring you already? I started as one of 30 girls, and we came out as 8 at the end. Now, I went into Sandhurst with a secret also. I was a suspected epileptic at the time, and I chose not to disclose that to the forces because I wanted to be a soldier. And I thought that if I could prove to them that I was physically able and better than my condition, that they would let me into the army and I could carry on and fight for my country. I had decided I would be the first female general, and they kindly gave me a 35-year regular commission. But as it turned out, my epilepsy eventually showed itself, and I was asked to leave the forces. And you know, in hindsight, now that I'm older and wiser and much more sensible, I realise that an epileptic with a semi-automatic weapon might not be such a great idea. So then I joined business for a while. I went to join business in America, actually, a company that was made up of all ex-military individuals, mostly men. Because generally I don't get along so well with women. I can't understand why. And I worked... I worked in the business world for quite a long time, until one day I decided to come back to the UK. And I saw on the TV The Apprentice, and they wanted people to apply to join the British Apprentice. Now, I had seen the American version with Donald Trump, who will be my fourth husband. I only have I've only had 2 at the moment, just so it's clear. There'll be another one, and then there'll be Trump. I need to have a word with Melania. She's clearly bored of him. I'm willing to take him on. It's not a problem for me. Anyway, so I came back, and I thought it would be like Trump's Apprentice, because I've watched it in America. It was very professionally done. He was a very professional outfit. The job at the end was great. So I applied for the UK one, and because I was kind of brash and annoying in a white suit, I had a silly voice, I was a mum already, I guess I fitted a number of the criteria you're supposed to have. One annoying one straight one gay one white one posh one with a big nose, one other one. Anyway, so on I went to The Apprentice, and then I realised it was actually with Little Lord Sugar. Now, Little Lord Sugar, I don't know if you know, he's actually nipple height. He's this tall. He's a very small individual, which means if the camera is where you are, I'm conscious of my wire here, if the camera is you, then Little Lord Sugar has to stand here in front of the camera, and all of us are right at the back of the bloody room over there, so that we all look round about the same size. That is the truth of Little Lord Sugar. So I got to the end of that and realised that being Little Lord Sugar's anything really wasn't going to suit me, so I told him to stick his job up his arse. Which led to me being a bit well known, and then I ended up on sofas talking about stuff like why I hate the name Tyler, because it's always the biting kid in the playground whose mum's shouting at him. And then I got on to things like why I really don't like fat people who aren't honest about why they're fat. And so I put on, I don't know if anyone saw, I put on half. Yes, we saw, Katie. We saw. I put on, so I'm 8.5 stone. I put on 4 stone in 3 months, and then lost it again to prove that I'm not lucky to be skinny. Sometimes I'm not so proud of the things I've done, but that would be one instance where I could say for sure that going to bed absolutely full at night and knowing that you have to wake up and eat again is honestly one of the worst things I've done. And the only thing I liked was when I got to tell everybody what I was actually doing, because there was a long period of time there where I was just really, really fat and people were being too polite to say anything. So I used to get given, because I thought, like, I don't really have boobs, sorry for the overshare, sorry boys, sorry. I thought if I put 4 stone on my boobs, that would be fantastic. I would have these enormous boobs and I would get to see what all this kind of fun boob stuff was about. But instead, I put all my weight on here, which is what they call a gunt. I won't explain where that word comes from, but it's not good. So I had this huge gut like this, and then people at the toilets in the bathrooms at Marks and Spencer's, you know you can go to the free toilet in Marks and Spencer's, we all do it, and they gave me first place in the line in the toilets because they thought I was pregnant. And then I got sent flowers for a baby I wasn't having. And it just got really embarrassing. So like I would just go, oh, thank you very much, and go to the front of the queue, even though it was just a fat belly, not a baby at all. Anyway, so I did things like that to prove my point. And then it got to a point, I was a columnist at The Sun for a couple of years, a columnist at Mail Online, which I loved. But it got to the point where I could no longer toe the line. I could no longer just write stuff that I was asked to write. I wasn't told what to write. We would agree what I would write. But then there became points where what I would write wasn't seen as being acceptable, where my opinions weren't okay, or my views on things on the ground by visiting places in southern Italy, watching the migrants come on their boats, trying to report about it honestly. Migrants at hostels given 45 euros a day, off playing football all day, getting more pocket money and money than southern Italians were getting, taking over whole hotels that used to be on TripAdvisor, given over to migrants. And the TripAdvisor images of those hotels were still online, whilst those places was full of migrants. In the southern Italian town that I was in, whilst I was there was a protest in the street where the migrants blocked the traffic for Italians because their rice was too soft and their Wi-Fi was too slow. And I started to write about these things and was told, no, that's not acceptable, we can't publish that. And so it was at that point I had to make my departure from, I guess, being anywhere near the media to going it alone. Because to tell the truth seems to me much more important than to tell the truth we're supposed to hear, which is what you took the opportunity of. And so that's why I go it alone, and that is very freeing, and I love it. I love what I do. I tell truths from the road amongst real people that work in Sainsbury's, work in Spar, work behind the bar, people like you and me who are regular families trying to earn our way, pay our way, keep our families safe and maybe go on holiday bits. You know, regular people's stories that matter. And I think that's the heart of everything I try and do. And of course, that's been an expensive journey in all sorts of ways. I think we've all seen with Tommy what happens eventually to us, and sure as eggs for eggs, I'm following down that road. But first of all, obviously, they come for your job. So you can no longer be employed at The Sun, you can no longer be employed at Mail Online, you certainly can't appear on the BBC or ITV or any mainstream channel, definitely not on radio, and so I was fired from that job as well. Then they usually come for your children. So I have 3 children, they're 15, 14 and 10. And my husband takes the lion's share of that responsibility, if I'm honest with you. He's called Lovely Mark. People always say it with a question mark at the end, which is rude. They say, so you're married to Lovely Mark? Like it makes no sense whatsoever that he could possibly be with me. And people are like, and you've had children? Like it would be weird that someone ever put their penis inside of me. Has happened. You don't have to go into that detail. So I have 3 children, but they are reported to social services quite often. People ring social services to say that my children are in danger, that I have treated them poorly, that I'm trying to indoctrinate them. And absolutely full respect, of course, to social services. They always follow up on those things, as they rightly should. And we always have the conversation. And I suppose the only thing that breaks my heart is that whilst they're investigating me, there are children out there who need their help. Children like the 2,000 children in Rotherham who were raped repeatedly by women. Children who right now, as we sit here, are being lured in by majority Pakistani Muslim grooming gangs, and we're not allowed to say that either, and it's for that reason that I do. And that makes me sick that people think by taking my children from me, they will shut me up. They take my job, they take my children. So that really wasn't good enough for them. So then they came after my head. A jihadi couple, one is a female, and as her wedding present from her jihadi husband, she wanted my head. She said I was the biggest bitch of them all. You better believe it, sister. And so she sent her potential jihadi husband out for my head. She bought a dummy, a plastic dummy, like a shop dummy. They bought a hunting knife to practice with, and they practiced chopping my head off. One night and I have my children down in Devon, in the West Country, way out of the way, because I grew up down there as well. My mum and dad lived there. Eventually the plan is that I will take mum and dad in with me to look after, and my children are down there with Lovely Mark. And one night, very late at night, 11 o'clock maybe, a team of men arrived at my house dressed in black. They came in and they wired my telephones up to the local police station so that all I had to do was pick up a handset and the police would come. And they put in black panic boxes at the top floor of my house on the 3rd floor, so that if I was attacked by a jihadi, I should run up to the 3rd floor, shake the panic box, and the police would come. And my children sleep on the 2nd floor of my house. And they left me in the night and they told me not to worry. Their plan was foiled, actually, and they've both been sent down and are serving time in prison for their attempts to take my head. So that's brilliant. But the state wasn't quite done with me yet. So the state, the British government, then commissioned a play. I don't know if any of you saw it, or saw the posters for it, The Assassination of Katie Hopkins. And that play, those billboards were up all over the place, and it was seen as a jolly a jolly, wry take on the modern phenomena of social media and goodies and baddies, but still, when you've had that attack against you, I guess those posters didn't particularly help, and I can tell you, I'm very tough. I don't mind that. I am impossible to offend, and I accept whatever is coming my way. I accept it, absolutely, no problem at all. But try explaining to your 72-year-old mother why there's a play commissioned by the government that's called The Assassination of Katie Hopkins, and I can tell you that was a hard conversation, because I do try and protect my parents from all that. But still, on we go. And the great thing, I think, is that even when they came after my house next with lawfare, court orders and court cases against me, and eventually they got my family home as well. But once they've taken your job, they've tried to take your children. They came after your head, then they tried to advertise somebody taking you out, and then they take your family home. There isn't actually much else they can come get. So really they've reached the line with me where I'm still going to go, I'm still going to speak out, I will not be silenced, and I will not let any of them shut me up no matter what. And there's no way I can tell anybody that thinks they want to come out with me with a milkshake and frighten me, they're really going to have to try a lot better than that, because frankly it's not even going to touch the sides. You know, and I do wonder about, don't you, the way the media dresses things up. You know, the fact that we have to sit here and listen to them call them Asian grooming gangs. Asian. Throwing half of India under the bus at the same time. That we have to listen to Shamina Begum and her wilting story about how she should be let back into this country. Do any of you give one flying F about Shamina Begum? Because if you do, raise your hand now and I will come and thump it off your body. Not one single jot do I give about Shamina Begum. We sent our British soldiers over there to fight for this country. She was actively sleeping with the enemy against our country. The day that woman sets one foot on British soil is the day I go to prison, for sure. For sure. Returning jihadis. We love a returning jihadi, don't we? Returning jihadis. We took 342 of them. Returning jihadis, we gave them a home. We gave them healthcare. We gave all of their kids. How many kids do they have each? 10? You call Mohammed these days in a school playground, 452 kids come running. No one knows whose buggers is here. Returning jihadis. Because when you think about it, jihadis are supposed to go and blow themselves up, aren't they? That's their job. There's always some guy in a 90 telling them to do it. Blow yourself up to please Allah. Well, where was his? Why doesn't he have to go and do it? He's just the one that tells others because he's got the biggest 90. Is that it? Second, returning jihadi. No, actually, you're not a returning jihadi, are you? Because you were supposed to go and blow yourself up to get 72 virgins, which is more than you'll find in Waverley. So actually, apologies, I love Waverley, thank you, I'm sure you're a virgin or not, but either way it doesn't matter. So actually you're not a returning jihadi at all, are you? You're just a bit shit at your job. And if you're a bit shit at your job, you probably want to kill yourself, except you can't kill yourself because you're a bit shit at being a jihadi. So I think we have these phrases that we try and dress up the truth with, and I think one of the things that's really important for me is not to dress up the truth, to say it absolutely straight, to say it without any limits, without any holdback, just to say it exactly as I see it, and to be prepared to be hated for that, no problem at all. And I feel as well, that for people that don't like it, you always hear people, they say something, they just put a toe out there, say something, and then 2 minutes later, they apologise, don't they? Oh, I'm so sorry for what I said. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to offend. Well, guess what? Yes, I did say it. Yes, I did mean to offend you. You choose to be offended. I didn't cause you to be offended. You need to suck it up. I am never and not going to apologise to you. Not ever. Suck it up. Every time I hear someone say sorry, I just want to go and lamp them on and tell them just to grow a pair. You said it. You meant it. Stand by it. Who wants to be liked all the time by the wrong people? What is with being liked? I love what John Cleese came out and said. London not an English city anymore. No, it is not. Londonistan was lost a very, very long time ago. Many of you have probably seen the poster up in our British Army quarters now, which says if you add Stan to any town or city, that is a sign of being a far-right extremist. So listen up. Londonistan is exactly what we're dealing with. Being governed over by a very small Muslim mayor who wants to turn that place into an Islamic city that he can govern over. Absolutely true. I'm not sure a non-Muslim mayor ever again. Because when you pack a Muslim population into the boroughs of London as densely as they have, Tower Hamlets, the most Muslims in the UK, the most densely packed population, the fewest number of white Brits in that borough, Newark, right behind it, the second highest number of Muslims in an area in the UK. Why do you think that is? Do you think that happened by chance? Or do you think that happened by design to keep the London mayor in Muslim hats? You know, our capital city, your capital city, is run by a Muslim mayor who has a Muslim police association, a Muslim housing association, and last time I was there, he had an Eid party for his Muslim faithful in Trafalgar Square. After the Christchurch killing in the mosque, which we can all agree was a terrible, horrific event that should have never happened, he played out the Muslim call to prayer from Trafalgar Square. And I tell you, it still does it now. It's enough to make me shiver. It makes the hairs on all of the back of my neck and my arms stand on end. Because that is the future I see for our capital city. And as a white Brit now, I am outnumbered in London, in Bradford, in Luton, in Leicester, Birmingham by 2020, I think it is, or 2035. Outnumbered. I went to Savile recently. Anyone know Savile? Dewsbury. 97% Muslim. By being there with my cameraman, I increased the white British population by a clear 2 percentage points. So I went and filmed outside the mosque. Thought it was only appropriate. And was chased down the road by a large car and told to leave. Very rude. But in Savile, you know, I met some lovely people in the town centre. I talked to all sorts of people, all different people. But the lovely people I met in the town centre told me they feel like second-class citizens. That they no longer feel that this country is their home. That they don't recognise the faces they live amongst. They don't recognise the language that they hear. They don't recognise the shops anymore. And they feel lonely. And you know, I think that's the truth in many towns and cities in the UK. It's not actually about race or religion. It's about feeling like an outsider in the places we used to call home. And I can honestly say that I think a number of us, it's not a conversation that you'll hear in the media, but there's a number of us who are starting to look to see where it is we might go. Hungary is starting to look attractive, Poland, countries that are prepared to strongly defend our Christian culture. Not because we might be massively religious, but because we enjoy freedom, we want our daughters and our children to be safe, and we want them to grow up being able to walk down the street without being attacked. And that's why we look for a new place to call home. The Jewish communities in Paris, whether you know Jewish families or not, and we are supposed to be the people that attack Jewish individuals, which is the biggest nonsense ever. Jewish families are being forced out of Paris for precisely the same reason. Muslims and the Islamists control Paris. When I was there recently filming with Jewish families, 18 families received letters to their homes, mums and dads, normal people, not important people in the sense of the establishment power, normal families receive letters telling them, get out or you'll be killed. And the police came to the 18 families and told them, there's nothing we can do, they know who you are, you need to leave. And that's happening in Paris now. They're fleeing, they're leaving. 8,000 regular families with children left Israel last year because they do have somewhere to run. And this will become the question of our time, which is, where is our Israel going to be? And it reminds me very much, I had a glimpse of it with the South African farmers, the white farmers of South Africa.
You were very brave going there.
Oh, thank
You
you.
were very brave.
I don't think they had security, but there I had security. They were all ex-Paras, and they all had very tight bottoms indeed. Don't credit me with too much. It was a very enjoyable experience in many ways. But the South Africans love them. They are now 8%. So in terms of a glimpse into our future, there are 8% white people left in South Africa. Only last week there were 6 attacks. A woman found face down with a metal bar around her neck, a hammer beside her body. Another gentleman whose wife and him, elderly they were, tortured with boiling water. The wife was stabbed in the chest. She managed to get to her neighbours. And what they did to the husband, in thin detail, they threaded barbed wire through his head and dragged him around his property. And when the 15 black farm workers, because they love each other, blacks and whites on the farms love each other, when they found him, they've all gone to trauma counselling because the state his body was in. Not listen because they're white. But the beautiful thing about this story that feels like the end of the world is that it is biblical in proportions.
Yes.
And those big men mountains say, we will not leave. We will die in our boots. We will shed our blood for this land. And I tell you, it's epic. Their grandfathers turned the bushveld into farms that now drip avocados or bananas. And because of that fight, because they put their blood, sweat and tears in, they will not leave. And because they've employed 3 generations of the same black farm helpers, they will not leave them either. So they are preparing to make a final stand. And at the weekend, the Sudlanders and the white farmers gather together with their families and they train, they practice, and they rehearse. And they prepare to make a last stand because they will not leave that land. And it is something truly heroic. I spoke to them, one went to bed, and what about at night? My son sometimes says at night the monsters come. Yeah. And I have to go in behind the wardrobe or go under the bed and tell him that there's no monsters there. But in South Africa, at night the monsters do come. And I said to them, I went and slept on the farms with them, and I can tell you going to bed on a farm there, it's a next level thing. And they go to bed and they say, if tonight is the night, I accept that. If it's God's will for me to go, I accept that, but I will not leave my land. And that's the commitment they make. And I think it's an epic story, and I think it's a tale that is almost a glimpse into our future for us to make choices. When we pull back, where will we pull back to? And to what extent will you be committed to this land? Now I should shift a little, I think, to what's been going on very recently. And I joined Gerard for a bit. I think there's one thing you can realise when you take a little bit of flack, as I might have done, is you can see it in others when they're taking quite a lot of incoming fire. And when sometimes our heads go down a little bit, sometimes we all just need anybody in our private lives every night with our husbands or wives or partners. We sometimes need someone to tell us it will be okay. So I basically made myself team mascot on the UKIP battle bus and went along to cheer things up and generally jolly things along and remind people that UKIP matter and that 3 years of this long fight matters. And UKIP supporters really matter because you've been there the whole God time. And that matters to me, I can't tell you. if ever I put a cheer out for Brexit Party or an individual on the Brexit Party or try and push someone, it's only in the knowledge that without UKIP, none of their success would have happened. Not one document. So first of all, I went to spend a day with Gerard in London. We started off outside Westminster, and some prat dressed in a Welsh flag. Wells, never been my favourite little boy, but nice kid. Oh, Gerard, you're racist! You're racist! Gerard, that's racist! So I had a bit of a go at him. Asked him why he was the twat dressed in the flag, shouting at people in the street. He also had this weird device to shout through, like a loud hailer, but it actually looked like it was made out of a bin. So I was shouting, have you got a bin? Are you actually shouting at Gerard through a bin? And the great thing was that his mate turned to him in the street and went, is that actually a bin? Perfect. Then we crossed across the grass, you know, the grass where everyone protests all the time because they haven't got a job and haven't had a shower in at least a decade. Yeah. And then we picked up the twat with the flowers. Have you seen the clip of the twat with the flowers, as I call it? So he's got his camera with him, so he thinks he's really important. And he's got his posh boy glasses on, and he's holding these ridiculous flowers that he's obviously bought, like us girls would know. They obviously came from quite an expensive florist. And we don't do that. We buy our flowers from Sainsbury's or Asda, right? If we're going to get some flowers, or the lads are going to get us a flower, you want them from Asda, because they're a good price, they'll last a while, it's not too expensive. His came from a posh florist, and they were wrapped in plastic. And I was like, right, I'm having you. He's going along next to Gerard, and he's, so what is it, why do you not care about the climate? And, what about how the cows fart? And do you not care about them? I was like, oh my God, what about this? What about that? And Gerard, love his heart, answered question after question. He's trying to walk down the road. He's got his press guy with him. He's running a national campaign. He's the leader of a political party, and he's answering questions from a twat with posh glasses and some posh flowers in plastic. And he bless his heart, Gerard. This is who that man is. Politely, respectfully answering questions. So that's when I got involved. Listen, twat. What are you doing with flowers wrapped in plastic? Are you not worried about plastic and... Do you not think that you posh lot in London are always trying to tell the rest of us and the rest of the UK, a place that I know, a good place with good people, you're not always trying to tell us how to live our lives, all of you posh twats in London. And I could hear him getting posher and posher. And I thought, now tell me, where did you go to school? I don't think that's any time. Tell me, where did you go to school? Was it a posh boarding school? Did your daddy pay for that for you? Did he? I don't think that's right, but then the cameraman joins in. Well, what relevance has that got? I'm just trying to point out that posh people are always trying to tell us what to do. And he says, are you wearing any pants? That's not a question you ask Katie Hopkins. No, I'm not. Do you want me to show you my naked arse? So at this point, me and Gerard poodle off and we leave the twat with the flowers behind. Anyway, Gerard and I had a really good day, and it was a lovely interview. I did really well on YouTube, but for the first time, Gerard actually got to speak. You know, he got to just answer questions as opposed to being attacked. Yeah, he got to just explain himself calmly, like he does, honestly, with authenticity, accepting there may have been problems or issues with Tommy or Carl or any of the things that thrown at him, but just honestly with integrity answering questions. And it was a great thing. And you know, what really struck me from that day was just the integrity of the man. And so, and I think that's what's really stayed with me as well, that whatever happens from here, wherever UKIP goes or does not, and I think there's a real place for UKIP, by the way, but Gerard was a true leader, is a true leader, and never ever said a bad word about his party, ever. And so then a few weeks went by, and I think he was surprised actually. I put the video together, edited it carefully, sent it to him for him to see, and I think he was surprised because for the first time someone just showed him what actually happened, and he was happy with it, you know. And I think it was a change, because that's not what the media does. They twist everything. I was just telling what we did. And also there was the twat with the flowers. So he said, tell you what, Kate, come on the battle bus. So I thought, yeah, that's good. We'll go on the battle bus, help chivvy things along, because obviously Brexit Party at this point were getting all the headlines, all the news, they were going to take all the votes. And at this point, Gerard and you guys kindly had funded, effectively, through a kind supporter of yours, this bloody great big purple bus. And at the point that you've had a bus wrapped purple with your own face on it, I'm sorry, but you've got to go drive that bus around the country. It doesn't matter what's happening with the Brexit Party. So we had to put the best face on it that we could. Because what's the other option? You're going to go sit on your sofa at home and have a cry into your pint. That isn't going to get us anywhere. So we went out and we took that bus to people. We started off in, how do you say it? Lowestoft. Lowestoft. I don't know how you say it. Lowestoft. And so it was the first night, there was a gathering in a pub or whatever, and Gerard, he'd never said it to me before, he went, Katie, can I just say, can we not upset the people of Lowestoft? Which is really funny, because, you know, that's not what I do. I don't go around upsetting people, but I can see that I can be effective. So anyway, I said, Gerard, don't even worry about it. You won't even notice me. So I stand up to do my speech. And I just was talking about all sorts of things and, you know, being encouraging to the UKIP base and actually saying nice things about Gerard. Because one thing Gerard doesn't do is say nice things about himself. Something actually Nigel Farage is really good at, saying good things about himself. Anyway, Gerard doesn't. So I was able to say how I found Gerard and that he was a nice person. And I didn't offend Lowestoft at all. I know, thank you very much. The guy next to me gets up. He's there from, I don't know where he used to be a fisherman. And he goes, we need to change things. We need to stop what's happening because this place is a bag of crap. I was like, why am I the one getting the lecture on not pissing off Lowestoft when he's just done it really well? Anyway, we went from there, we went to Great Yarmouth in the rain. We get off the bus at Great Yarmouth. You're not welcome! You're not welcome! You're not welcome! You're not welcome! There was like a little row of protesters who'd organised themselves to be outside the UKIP offices in Great Yarmouth. You're welcome! Right, that's all they've got. So I get my phone with the video on, and I get right up. I wouldn't do it now, but I'm restricted by my leash. Right in their face. So the guy's going, you're not welcome! Spitting at me. I'm getting a wash and my phone. And then I go, okay, I heard that. Why am I not welcome? And he hadn't really thought me on the first time. So all he had was, you're not welcome! I went, yes, I heard that point. Can you tell me why I'm not welcome? You're not welcome! I said, you haven't really thought of the second line here. Yeah. So we had them to deal with. And then we went and met, I don't know her name. I love her, I love her, I love her. She's a UKIP local councillor in Great Yarmouth. She just got elected. But I tell you what, her bazookas were enormous. What's the biggest measuring there is? Double, triple, F, D, G? Christ knows, it's not my field. These things must have been triple Zs. And she had a low top on, round Great Yarmouth in the rain, and I could not stop staring. And at one point, we were just going through the market, past the fish store, and I swear her left nipple was out, and the press were with us, and I didn't know how to alert her to her left nipple. These things happened in Great Yarmouth on the battle bus. One last funny story that I thought was funny, and I cannot disclose which member of the team this was. But in terms of toilet humour, no, definitely not. She'll kill me. Number one, on the bus, battle bus, if you get car sick, never, ever, ever go on a battle bus. Those things are dreadful. Number two, on the toilet on the battle bus, you were only allowed to wee. I don't know what that is. Is that a wee? Yeah. You were only allowed to wee. And there is something weird that goes on with boys' brains when they're told they're only allowed to wee. It means they're desperate to do the other immediately. So Gerard and the others spent a lot of time fretting about when there would be another bathroom stop. And then, someone on the bus, as we were zooming along on the purple bus, Gerard's face in it, someone got chronic food poisoning. She had to be sick and the other. In pulls the purple bus into a lay-by, Gerard's face, emblazoned on it. UKIP, honk for Brexit, it says, or beat for Brexit. Off we get. Me and another lady, we brought our long winter coats with us as shelter. We found a field, got in the field. This poor soul was down both ends. We were trying to provide shelter like matadors with our coats, like this. She's busy doing that. We're saying, don't worry, it's perfect. No one can see anything. No, it's so perfect. Make yourself at home. She's got her hands in the nettles. It's all going on. And of course, on the bottle bus, it says, "Beat for Brexit." So the cars are winging by on the dual carriageway. Honk, honk! And she's, oh my Jesus Christ! They're not honking for you, it's okay. They're honking for Brexit, they're honking for Brexit. So, this all went on the battle bus. I don't know if just because I was there, but either way, the point was that we all had, it was a merry time, and that was actually part of the point. I think it really lifted spirits, not so much the chronic diarrhea and the vomiting, but in terms of us all being able to make it through at a time of difficulty. And I actually think that's the measure of all of us in this room. We aren't just here for when it's easy, or when the sun is shining, or when it's going our way, or it's the 23rd of June 2016 and we're celebrating because we finally got the Brexit that we've been campaigning for such a long time. We're here for the long term. There's a military expression, you know, it's called strength in death. There's other things as well, like having a sense of humour when you're under fire. Strength in death. And strength in death is about a lot more than a service level campaign. It's about a lot more than just winning some votes that were there to be won because we're all pissed off. Strength in depth is the authenticity of people who are so bought in to what they're fighting for, they will never give up. And that, to me, is the difference between UKIP and the Brexit Party. I have no problem with Nigel Farage, I have no problem with the Brexit Party. It's a right role, the European elections were well fought, and the Brexit Party did great, no problem with that at all. But what's going to happen is there's going to be a need for strength in depth. There is going to be a need for the real, authentic fighters to keep on fighting. There is going to be a need for a real party with real policies and cohesive individuals who've known each other for a long time.
This concludes our Merseyside Network. This concludes our Merseyside Network News Special. I'm David Knox, your host and anchor, as always. Have a pleasant evening, morning, afternoon, or... And now a message from our CEO, Gwentmo. Merseyside Network News.